Welcome back, y'all, to another video. So if you're a boxing fan, this was your weekend. So we had a lot of fights that happened this weekend. First and foremost, the Taínos versus Azteca card that happened in Puerto Rico that was headlined by Subriel Matias. We also had the Keyshawn Davis fight card that he headlined on ESPN. We also had the pay-per-view event of Jerome Boots Ennis versus Karen Chukajan. I think I said that right. Please don't kill me. All right, so first and foremost, we'll start with the Taínos versus Aztecas card. I'm just going to talk about the Subriel Matias fight because that's the fighter that everybody knows most. So first and foremost, Subriel Matias was fighting Roberto Ramirez. He won by TKO in round 2. Now, from what I got from this fight, I watched this fight, I didn't see any change in Subriel's game. It seemed like the same game plan, forward, hooks, a lot of hooks, not a lot of jabs, decent head movement, but he's just gonna go straight forward, straight through you. It seemed like this fight was a bit of a tune-up fight. I don't know much about Roberto Ramirez, but I just think that this was just to get Subriel back on his feet and just to get him, his redemption after the loss to Liam Paro, just so he can get his name back in contention, so maybe he could fight for that belt again. Which, speaking of, they did announce that Liam Paro is fighting Richardson Hitchens. I think that's how you say his name, or Hitchinson. They're fighting for what used to be Subriel's belt, but now is Liam Paro's belt, and I'm sure Subriel is going to want the winner of that, which I think that's what he said in the interview after the fight, or one of the other big name fighters in the 140-pound division that have a belt. So I don't really take much from this other than the fact that I hope that there's a different game plan going into the next fight. Maybe he gets a different coach. Maybe he teaches him a little bit more on the boxing and the footwork and stuff like that, because not to say there's anything wrong with his footwork, but that game plan that he had the same game plan against Liam Paro, and if he expects it to work again, if there was a rematch, I don't see it working the second time. You know what I mean? There's got to be a change in game plan. So yeah. So the next fight I'm gonna talk about is the Keyshawn Davis card that happened. So I'm gonna talk about Abdullah Mason first. So we got to talk about that crazy first 2 rounds of that fight with Abdullah. So first minute of the fight, Vasquez lands a left hook and drops Mason. Boom. Starts counting. A minute later, gets rocked by a right, and then throws a freaking left counter, drops Vasquez. Then a minute later, while trying to assault Vasquez catches him with another left hook, drops Mason. Then the next round to then KO Vasquez, basically with a body shot, and then that was all she wrote. So not his best performance, but I still think that's a rising star. He looked really good. He bounced back under pressure. I mean, obviously, that left hook is there for him to get clipped, so he needs to work on that. But, again, I still think Abdullah Mason, nice with it, rising star. And then we'll talk about the main event. Keyshawn Davis looked phenomenal. He destroyed Lemos, and Lemos came in overweight. Didn't even come in close to on weight. And I won't lie to you, that dude Keyshawn is a problem. So, what I think is next, I think it's undeniable that Keyshawn Davis deserves some sort of title shot or a #1 contender fight. One of the big names at 140. He did call out Gervonta at 135, I think. Now, I think that's a good fight. But Gervonta's about to fight Lamont Roach, I think he is. They're about to fight, but I think that would be a good next fight for Gervonta because Keyshawn does look really nice. I think there's nobody in that 135-pound division outside of Gervonta and maybe Lomachenko that look better, in that division. So, yeah, I like that fight. I think that should be next. So, we're going to move straight on into the Jerome Boots Ennis versus Karen Chukajan pay-per-view card. And let's talk about Bam, okay? Bam Rodriguez is probably the best in that 115, 118 pound division. In that area there, I don't think there's anybody better than him. To be honest with you, I think there isn't any other fighter that I see. I don't even want, honestly, people want him to fight Chocolatito, but I just see him running through Chocolatito like he did all the other legends that he fought, And I think he needs to go up and fight Nakatani. That is who I think he should go fight. That's a banger card right there, and I think that's a banger fight right there. And I know some people were calling for that. I think why wait, 1 or 2 more fights? Like, yeah, I know he wants to unify, but I'd rather see him go up. You know what I mean? I honestly, go get them big names. Go chase that check. Go headline your own card. Because I think the only outside of Bam Rodriguez, like, you got Naoya Inoue, that's like the best in those lower weight classes. You know what I mean? So yeah, he looked incredible in that fight. I mean, he knocked out Guevara. Yeah, I think it's Guevara. In round 2 or 3. Was it round 2 with an uppercut? He dropped him one in the early in the fight, and then uppercut, and that was all she wrote. Like, Guevara had nothing for him, and I understand it was his mandatory, but like, yeah, it didn't even look like Bam broke a sweat. Like, this was easy work for him. Now, like I said, I think Nakatani, that's the big money fight. I mean, Chocolatito's nice, and I think that'll get a lot of buzz just because of the names, but we want, like, in my eyes, I want the most competitive fight. I guess that fight with Rodriguez and Chocolatito, I think Bam is gonna run right through him. Honestly, that's my opinion. You may disagree, but, like, dude, he's 24 and he's already beaten. His resume speaks for himself. You know what I mean? So I don't see anybody else in anything lower than 122 that's got it for him other than Nakatani. So now let's talk about Boots. Now, he won by unanimous decision, and it was a clear victory, but I don't think he looked smooth. Like, I don't think he looked as good as he did the last fight. You know what I mean? Chukazan really showed a lot of holes in his defense for sure, and his I guess you could say expertise. I'm not gonna like shoot his expertise, because obviously he's a champ and everything like that. But you can tell, like, he was too eager to try to get that knockout, to where he kind of got some tunnel vision. He stopped throwing the jab. He stopped. He wasn't going to the body as often, and he was getting clipped with the left hook and the straight too often, way too comfortable. And he got way too comfortable with it. And maybe Chukazan didn't have the power to hurt him, really hurt him or put him down. But, like, imagine, like, 147. I saw Garcia was calling him out, and, like, I get it. He's suspended. I'm not here on the train to start any of that talk soon. But, like, a guy like Garcia, who is left hook happy, yeah, no, bro. That guy got power. So, like, I don't see that lasting if you were to go up to 154. You know what I mean? Now, do I think the fight against him and Crawford, do I still want that? Like, hell yeah, I do. Like, whoever says they don't want that fight is crazy. Of course, I would be take my money if that fight happened. Now, do I think it's a lot more closer? I know everybody was saying that Crawford's running from Boots and everything like that. Now, I think I'm on the side that this is a much more even fight, because both of them have shown in their last fights that they're both capable of being hit. You know what I mean? At 154, Crawford didn't look as strong. At 147, Boots, obviously, Chukazan didn't have the power to really do anything to him, but, like, obviously he's capable of getting hit. And at 154, where that power is a little bit more up there, that might make a difference. So, yeah, of course I want to see that Crawford fight, but I mean, there's so many other fights you can talk about. I mean, after the fight, Eddie Hearn and him were talking about a fight against Ortiz with Oscar De La Hoya, and Oscar De La Hoya talking about them doing the 5-on-5 with Boots and Ortiz headlining, which I like that fight. Now at 154, maybe, sure. But I would rather see Boots unify, you know what I mean? Or, I mean, if you can't unify, yeah, 154, I see it. But, like, with a guy like Ortiz who is a volume puncher, which, don't get me wrong, Ortiz can get hit as well. All of these guys have shown they can be cracked, you know what I mean? But with a guy like Ortiz who is a volume puncher, I would say Chukazan and Ortiz got a very similar game, except I think Ortiz is the more, like, capable forward fighter. I think that Ortiz is gonna really, really expose those open holes that Ennis has if he doesn't fix those before, you know, a fight like that happens. Now, I like that fight with Ortiz. I like a fight against Crawford. I also like a fight against Ryan Garcia when he gets out of a suspension at 147. Maybe if he stays at 147, you know what I mean? And then maybe even Conor Benn, because he's a 147, 154 pounder. But he's trying to fight Eubank, which don't make no sense to me. I don't get that. But Conor Benn, that's another one. You know, but Conor Benn been crazy yelling for a big name fighter. What can we see him and Boots Ennis? I think that would be a good fight. So that's just my opinion. So I think those are good names for Boots. Like I said, there were a lot of holes in his game shown. Like Keyshawn was landing way too much that I felt comfortable with. Maybe his team felt comfortable with it, but I didn't like it. I wanted him to mix it up to the body a little bit more. I wanted him to use his jab more because he just kept fading away from it later on in the fight. He kept trying to, you know, do too much of that Philly shell, obviously, and it was working some, but the whole fight it wasn't working. You know what I mean? And obviously he was getting the left hook was landing. He got hit by a couple. One that looked like it really rocked him, and then some straight rights. You know, I didn't like it. Wasn't his best performance, even though I did see it unanimously. You know, and if anybody saw it any differently, I don't know what fight you were watching. Now, granted, Keyshawn did do a lot better, but wasn't enough. Better fighter, I think you Boots is in a lot of danger. So, yeah. So those were the fights this weekend. That was my breakdown of it. And then next weekend we have the Jake Paul versus Mike Tyson fight. So I'm going to do a breakdown video of that this week as well. That should be coming out later this week. But until then, y'all, make sure y'all leave a like, subscribe. Make sure y'all turn your notification bell on. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.